Wednesday, UnWoke Nation, and I'd like to welcome you to episode 89 of the UnWoke Show, where free speech is welcome, all subjects are on the table, and your boys Rich and Tim bring you the latest and greatest information for your entertainment, baby. I'm your host, Rich, along with my co-host, Tim. How you doing, Timmy?
Doing great, Rich, man. I know we've been getting a little sidetracked with the holidays and everything. We hope UnWoke Nation is...
Nobody told you to drink all the eggnog.
No, not this time,
Couldn't
right?
make the show.
Exactly. Got to stay committed through the end.
Damn whiskey.
So anyway, guys, coming into the holiday season, this will be our final two episodes of the year. We want to thank the UnWoke Nation and everybody for tuning in and listening to us. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. We've had a great time this season. There's been no shortage of crap going on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, but real quick, guys, we want to do some house cleaning first. Guys, you can reach us via email at feedback@unwoketheshow.com. Again, that is feedback@unwoketheshow.com. Guys, we are on all the major podcasting platforms. Tune in, check us out. There's a lot of great content for you. We're on Apple, Spotify, Podbean, Good Pods, Amazon, iHeartRadio. Guys, we are out there. Tune in, check us out. We'd love for you to like, feedback, if you're feeling extra generous this Christmas holiday season. And tonight, guys, we're going to end the season with a potential impact that's going to carry over probably the rest of, well, not only this year, but next year and going forward. And that is the United States versus TikTok. That's right. TikTok is back in the news again.
Yep.
In case you haven't been paying attention, back in April of this year, Congress passed a law and Joe Biden signed it, essentially saying that TikTok either needs to sell to a U.S. Organization or company, or it's going to be removed from your phones.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so effectively banning TikTok in the U.S. And you're probably saying to yourself, well, what's the big deal? Well, TikTok is actually owned by ByteDance, which is then owned by a Chinese company. So in essence, it's a Chinese-owned product. Mm-hmm. The concern there is with all the content and really a cottage industry that has grown up around and, well, it really in on TikTok. I mean, literally everything that can be promoted is being promoted on TikTok, right? And so the Supreme Court is going to be hearing arguments on January 10th. TikTok appealed to the Supreme Court justices in a high-profile fight between Congress and TikTok. And really at the heart of this case is TikTok a free speech platform, mm-hmm. which obviously it is. Mm-hmm. The concern from the U.S. side is, I guess you could call it free intelligence and free data that the Chinese are gathering, right?
Yeah, that's pretty much what people have been afraid of, and I've heard many people within our business that a lot of people are very concerned about, where's my information going? Are foreign enemies might be using it and all, but continue on that.
Yep. So Congress passed the ban with bipartisan support earlier this year, and as I said earlier, Joe Biden signed it into the law in April. The law came in response to years of concern in Washington that TikTok's Chinese parent company poses a national security risk, though Congress has said the app could still operate in the U.S. if it divests from Chinese ownership. Okay? So it's like, hey, you guys can stick around, but you got to divest. You can no longer be a Chinese-owned company, right? Mm-hmm. Earlier this month, the Federal Appeals Court in Washington, D.C. unanimously upheld the ban in a ruling that said the government had a national security interest in regulating the platform in the United States. Underscoring the significance of the case over TikTok's fate, the court's handling of the social media company's appeal was unusual and unusually fast. Mm. Okay? In most cases, even emergency ones, The court reviews written briefings from both sides before deciding whether to hear arguments on its regular docket. In this case, it dispensed with that procedure and agreed to hear the appeal immediately.
Okay.
That's pretty interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
That a company or a product such as TikTok, again, that's had a cottage industry literally grow up on it.
Right.
Right. It started with Facebook, Instagram, Twitter/X, now TikTok, and its far-reaching, influences, and anybody and everybody wanting to be a TikTok influencer. Right.
Right.
So, obviously, Michael Hughes, a spokesman for TikTok, said in a statement that the company is pleased that the court agreed to hear the case. We believe the court will find the TikTok ban unconstitutional, so the over 170 million Americans on that platform can continue to exercise their free speech rights.
Yeah, and I think also dealing with yes, you're right about with the free speech, but you'll also notice, especially in the last year, TikTok has actually been putting out a lot more commercials of Americans. I know particularly the last one I saw was about a lady who was making these candles, and I guess she was putting on TikTok, and then she went from, as the commercial ends, it states that, she went from doing something that was a hobby to all of a sudden became a business. And so maybe when this initially came out about there being a court case, and about the banning, they were like, okay, well, we got to show, hey, we're not exactly as bad as you think it on. As you and I had actually discussed pre-show, and I had learned this probably on TikTok. I don't know.
Well,
who'd have
sure.
thunk it? But apparently over in China, TikTok is actually an educational platform.
Well, yeah, we're providing all the education with all the stupid shit.
Yeah, about it's like, it's like, oh, we just learned how stupid Americans can be, or I don't know.
Right.
But yeah, apparently I was actually surprised. I thought it was the same thing over there as it is here. It is not.
There is no doubt going to be an impact to content creators, advertisers, and everyday users who rely on the platform for entertainment and, I guess, in a sense, income as well. Right. TikTok has that whole drive. Oh, look what I learned on TikTok.
Yeah.
Right. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens with that, and if that free speech argument holds up.
Yeah.
Right. What I'm really curious to hear is how the government is going to show that there is a potential national security interest or violation, or because it's owned by China. Obviously,
you got to show us the evidence is,
right.
Yeah.
So, so not only is it a First Amendment dispute, but you can imagine with our newly elected President Trump, who has a thing for China, you can imagine that's going to...
China.
Yeah.
You said
China.
wrong. China.
You can imagine that his reelection will hang heavily over the legal fight, because while he's offered inconsistent views, he has recently seemed to warm to the platform. So,
wonder why that is.
I don't know. Trump met with TikTok CEO Xu Chu at Mar-a-Lago on Monday, a person familiar with the meeting. It sounds like, according to the summary, that Trump has kind of taken a soft spot to TikTok all of a sudden.
But I'd like to know why.
Well, he was on Twitter, or still is, or X.
He is.
Now finding a new way or a new avenue to...
Thank you, Baron.
Yeah. to reach
I mean, 'cause
people.
he really wasn't getting on any podcasts where until his son told him, you might want to go visit this guy named Joe.
Yeah.
You know, and the point being is that, you know, people are getting more information online and through podcasts and stuff like that. That's the whole purpose of bringing. Yeah.
Well, and then Trump goes on to say that he won youth by 34 points
Mm-hmm.
through TikTok. You know, say that Trump has stated. So, of course, if I'm a TikTok attorney, I'm going to jump all over this, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Mr. President, you stated aware that if you're going to be speaking, so basically what it is that, you know, you're going to look at a defense attorney is going to say, look, you know, you were stating in the Mr. Election aware so that you had over 34% of people who are actually regular TikTok users actually ended up voting for you. Then if you turn around and you're going to say, well, we think that TikTok is a threat to national security, you put that out there, it's like, you know, that
Right.
doesn't look very good.
No.
And also now that puts a lot of pressure on the congressional committee that's actually dealing with this and speaking to the guy who's the owner or the CEO of the company, you know, kind of puts you in a sticky wicket, so to speak.
So ByteDance, which is TikTok's Chinese parent company, has previously indicated it will not sell the platform.
Yeah, I think they made that kind of clear like 6 months ago,
Right.
6 or 7 months ago.
Now, asking for an extension, or really what they're could be asking for a delay, right? And waiting until the Trump administration takes office to see how his administration would rule, or not rule, but would potentially influence the decision, or maybe even reverse what or try to get Congress to reverse what was passed, right?
And I think so too, Tim. It's like, because if they're going to postpone the war, so because mind you, congressional committees are made up of people from Congress, obviously, and there's going to be a Republican House and a Senate. So if they're saying, hey, can we kind of put this off until after January 20th and see where that all kind of goes from there, I can see that happening. Where so because if the defense feels that they might have gotten a little bit of leeway, maybe a little bit of, you could say, sympathy on, hey, you know, maybe TikTok isn't like that. Well, now they're about to come to a whole new ball game,
right?
And go like, wait, now we got these guys where, you know, where they basically, you know, they are a White House and congressional on one accord, you know. So how are they going to think of us? You know, will we actually go backwards to where they'll say, no, you know, you guys really are a threat to national security, it's like that. I mean, me personally, I need evidence. Okay. I've used,
I don't disagree.
I don't know if you use TikTok or it's like,
I do not.
okay. So I use TikTok, and I know for me, it's like the things I've liked about it, where I mean, it's like, yeah, I know I've woken up on a Sunday where some guy is doing a DJ set or so in Australia, and it's 2 something in the morning, 2 a.m. in the morning here, or 4 a.m. in the morning. And I can actually listen to something like, okay, that's pretty cool. You know, so, but I need to see some evidence, man, to say like, okay, why is this an issue?
So the act of banning TikTok in the U.S., right, was a culmination of extensive bipartisan action by the Congress and by successive presidents. It was carefully crafted to deal only with control by a foreign adversary, and it was part of a broader effort to counter a well-substantiated national security threat posed by the People's Republic of China, the ruling said. Under these circumstances, the provisions of the act that are before us withstand the most searching review. So really, to sum this all up, you know, January 10th, the High Court has set aside 2 hours for arguments, though it is possible that the justices will spend longer scrutinizing the law during the hearing.
You know, I was just thinking, you know, doing some research here while we were on, you know, we're doing a lot of talking, obviously, right now when it comes to, you know, the dangers of what TikTok is and also, but I'm actually doing some research right here. And this is according to Statistica. You would think with all this talk going on or in the news about TikTok that we would be the ones that are making the biggest deal about this whole thing. But actually, would you like to know what country has the largest amount of TikTok users?
China?
Indonesia.
Indonesia? Okay.
Indonesia has 157.6 million users. So my question would be towards Indonesia is, have you guys, now we're second. And obviously Indonesia is a smaller country, but my question is like, does Indonesia have a problem with this?
No, probably not.
Next is Brazil,
Okay.
at 105.2. So
It's definitely got to be the whole owned by China, although
mhm.
there are a lot of things that we consume that are owned by China.
What? Okay, people, look. All right, let's just what
Your LG TV, your Samsung.
exactly. Okay, so people, this is what they find a statistical fact. Okay, if you guys UnWoke Nation, if you go into your kitchen, okay, just and look around, I'm guaranteeing you 80% of the things you either drink out of, put stuff in, use as a fork, whatever like that, was made in China. It just is.
Yep.
Okay, so again, we need to be able to figure out exactly what it is about this that we find might be an issue. I mean, is this a fear-mongering thing or stuff like that? Or is it just because we're not using it? We're using it too much and like that. But then again, we use a lot of things, too much, whether it be Instagram, where like
Right.
that, some assholes out there with OnlyFans, give them a point.
Yep.
It's like, so what we need to really kind of figure out what's going on about this. That's the government says, yeah, we really think this is a threat to our country.
So here are just a few of the products that are Chinese owned. Okay. Again, these are Chinese owned consumer products.
Ready, go!
So Lenovo. So if you're buying a laptop that isn't
My laptop's okay.
Yeah.
Guilty.
Yeah, that isn't HP or something
Shit.
like that, right? Alibaba, if you're trying to buy stuff on the
That's
cheap.
right. That's right.
Hisense, if you own a TV, I own a Hisense flat screen smart TV.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anchor Electronics. Have you heard of?
Oh, that's Chinese? I didn't know
yeah.
that.
So if you're using an Anchor charger or any other associated Anchor powering product,
Where's my damn chargers? You're not gonna
exactly. For the ladies out there, Shein
know.
online retail, that's Chinese owned,
Oh. Okay.
right?
Well, there you go.
So there's,
So, Tim, are you trying to say, like, if we're going to check TikTok, shouldn't we check everything?
you could almost make that argument. I don't know why you wouldn't, right?
Because, I'm not afraid of my laptop charger is listening to me.
No, but your smart laptop, if it's got a camera, might be listening in.
Stop listening to me, you bastard.
Or that 80-inch flat screen you got at your house,
Mm-hmm.
right? That you're watching TV on and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
for sure. So even probably my laptop that I'm using has got some Chinese parts in it that I'm sure is recording me right now. Hell, the equipment we're using to report our podcast, right?
Yep, that's
So,
true.
I would imagine if that's going to come up during the Supreme Court review, although again, I'll be interested to see how they handle free speech on that one.
Mm-hmm.
That seems pretty clear cut. Again, I think the burden is definitely on the government to show a legitimate national security
Mm-hmm.
interest, because that would beg a lot of other Chinese companies out there that are probably collecting data in China, Japan.
But let's go one step further, Tim. How many times have you heard friends sit there and say, why do I feel like my phone's listening to me?
Yeah, exactly. Because it is.
And these are American products.
Yeah.
So if we're concerned, because the main agenda here that we're talking about is, are the products that we're using, TikToks like that,
Right.
are they actually gathering information on Americans and therefore be able to know how they think and therefore could be used against us?
Well, ByteDance has gone as far as to say, listen, we have our headquarters in the U.S. Yes, we're owned by a Chinese company.
Mm-hmm.
We have safeguards in place that's not happening. that they're not collecting that data. The federal government's like, yeah, no, we're not buying that one, boss. Sorry.
Mm.
So
After the balloon thing, we're starting to question a little bit.
well, and now we got all these stupid ass flying drones.
Oh
around,
gosh,
but
yeah, we'll have to talk about that sometime.
Yeah, that'll be another topic for another day. But anyway, Unwoke Nation, we'd love to get your thoughts on this one. You can reach us at feedback@unwoketheshow.com. Again, that is feedback@unwoketheshow.com. Guys, look for us on all the major podcasting platforms. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon, Podbean, you name it. We're out there. Tune in. If you're feeling generous, give us a like, give us a review. And as always, guys, stay unwoke.
We'll see you next time, guys.